Imagine a vibrant discussion between people that includes both openness and critical thought in the pursuit of truth. The Purchasing Truth podcast is an experience, a journey, an exploration of the impact that negative messages in politics and the media have on our families, community, society, and nation. Join your hosts, Bill Stierle and Tom Hazard, to discover new concepts and language strategies that will reveal effective ways of establishing truth. This podcast series will tackle current events, leadership challenges, healthcare confusion, integrity in business, and many other areas that affect us all. Gain clarity and understanding of the various truth perspectives. Welcome to Purchasing Truth.
Welcome back to Purchasing Truth. I'm Tom Hazard, along with your host, Bill Stierle. And wow, Bill, you look like you are very comfortable in a very soothing place.
I am. I feel so delighted that my virtual beach is behind me, and I feel like that, I'm outside and engaging in the world more fully than I am. So, but it's really delightful to be on the beach with you, Tom.
Wonderful. Well, hey, folks, for those of you listening on the podcast, you've got to go to the blog post at purchasingtruth.com and check out the the video to see this. Or is it purchasingtruth.com? It is, right?
It is. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Check that out. Check out that video. It is worth seeing. Well, in any case, Bill, I'm actually looking forward to, in a way, picking up where we left off last time. Now that I've had several days since we recorded that last episode, and I'm a little less exasperated than I was, that we can talk about scapegoating and purchasing truth, which I think is a great way to sort of frame a lot of what we talked about last time.
Yeah, scapegoating is an interesting strategy that human beings do when they're trying to protect self-worth or protect their version of the truth. It's easier to assign blame or assign wrongdoing to somebody else, because every human being makes a mistake and every organization has its own blunders. But to say that person's blunder at 1% is more or the same as my blunder at 50% is really what the theme of scapegoating has to do. And anytime you use a label or a diagnosis and it handcuffs both the listener and the speaker. See, the speaker doesn't actually know that they're handcuffing themselves because they're just getting a short-term impact, and all they're doing is reinforcing a limited belief. And with this latest round of scapegoating, it's very challenging and very, very difficult. Yep.
It is, and really, that's exactly what the president was doing, wasn't it? Reinforcing a limiting belief, and he just keeps reinforcing so many of them, misdirecting the White House press corps except for the people from Fox News, for whatever it was they were asking. That, though I think as we talked last time, those journalists do not have enough skills to really get the president off of that posture.
Yeah, they don't because he's ready to market and brand and spin towards his version of the story that he would like to tell, not the story that's alignment with the facts. Many very powerful attorneys also do the same tactic. They spin a story or tell a story that the jury is listening to the story, and they'll come then to the witness and say, was that true? And the witness says no. But the problem is that the attorney just spent 15 minutes or 7 minutes weaving the story instead of talking or trying to get the facts, because the facts are not in their favor for their client. They are spinning away from the truth, not trying to find out, yeah, I can really see how you can see my client, had did this thing, and you're probably right. The attorney's never going to say that. They're going to try to put the positive spin on it. Okay. So what can we do about this? That's always what it lands on, is that the president feels enthusiastic about being an optimistic cheerleader. He's trying to comfort the nation by ignoring facts. I don't want to be the person to bring bad news. Bad news and marketing don't go together. Bad news and branding don't go together. In fact, even if I had bad news in association with my brand, it's still a great brand. It's still the best brand ever. This is why you can fail at a vodka, fail at a casino, fail at an airline, fail as a football guy, owner. You can fail at all those things, but the Trump brand stands for quality. How does it stand for quality when you're kind of failing all over the place here? But in the Trump brand, it's quality. It's a quality hotel, and I get to, Trump steaks. I mean, it's the best quality steak. Well, clearly the marketplace didn't see it, and it doesn't believe your brand, and they don't want to spend that much different than, twice as much for a steak that is delivered to you. Because your brand and your quality is not as good as you pumped it up to be. So he is the brander in chief. And if they start calling him the brander in chief, or the marketer in chief, or the salesman in chief, what happens is that these kinds of framing pieces to say, yeah, he's one of the best branders and marketers. Look at all the success that he's had with the money that he's spent for his different products and the investors that he's gotten on board. Of course, the investors have lost their money, but they're the ones that got taken by the brander in chief, by the marketing person in chief.
Well, the cheerleader in chief, and he's the self-proclaimed cheerleader in chief. He said it himself the other day, which of course spurred a whole lot of memes to be made showing Trump in a cheerleader's outfits that were not flattering at all. That was very much a self-inflicted wound there. But he was using that to defend in January and February when he's saying, we've got this under control. We're going to beat this. It's not going to be that bad. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't pay attention to the man behind the curtain. We've got this. But don't people see through that he's saying, well, I'm the cheerleader means, well, you weren't being truthful with us, Mr. President.
No. Yeah, he can't see through that. Cabbage Patch Kids are the best toy to cuddle with somebody. Cabbage Patch Kids. Now, I just pulled a reference from 1995 just to show you how that particular, what's a Cabbage Patch Kid?
I thought it was even in the mid 80s myself, but yeah, I think they spanned a couple decades, maybe.
They sure do. Thank you for the truth stretch there.
No,
So the main reason why I brought that in there is because when a brand gets established, when a product gets established in the consciousness of a person, it brings the person or transports the person back to when America was great again. See, I want America to be great. Who doesn't? I want it to be great again. When was it not? The problem is that America has problems, lots of them. And the problems we have been exasperated by the people that believe that this guy is going to make America great again. That's the problem, is they still believe. They are in the sunk cost fallacy. They put their bet, they put their vote, and they ain't moving off their vote.
Even
They're
if they
believing
lose
that
their job,
even if
and
they lose their job, even
and
if they lose their, no, he makes me happy. I like a confident person that knows and is rich, and I want to stand next to the rich person. I mean, there was a show, Tom, a long time ago, Lifestyles of the Rich and Famous. Remember
yes,
that sucker?
I
Oh
do.
yeah, this. And it got to be a little bit unsettling because you're watching this affluence as the job, as your own income was not buying you as much. All of a sudden it became, I'll never get that. I'm not watching that show anymore. It's too painful to watch this wonderful thing that this rich person can afford, that no one sits at this big table they put on the middle of their yacht. It's like, oh my gosh. It's like, initially the show was great because it was like, the 80s and money was rolling, and all of a sudden there was this thing and a lot of people were getting rich because they didn't have to pay as much taxes and blah 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 blah. They could buy bigger things and do things, and they could look at upward mobility as it was the possibility of thing. But from the 80s, they had no idea that when the tax base was being shifted and put more on them and the economy was going in the other direction, they had no idea that they were never going to get that shot over the next 30 years. And it's just important. So the scapegoating part of it is, I can scapegoat somebody other than the rich and famous. I can scapegoat somebody that's foreign. I can scapegoat that somebody that is a World Health Organization. I can scapegoat them like Trump just did. I think I'm going to take their funding away because they should have called it. They should have let me know earlier. The answer was they did, and you ignored them. So I'm going to say something very profound, as I haven't done before on this podcast. Trump sells himself. He sells himself to believe that's right and what he says is right and true. He sells himself. He's in his own illusion.
Right.
He's in his own illusion that he's great.
You mean that he is living
He
in his
believes
own
himself.
bubble and he believes it?
He believes himself.
Okay.
Now that's so unsettling.
It is
for
unsettling.
Somebody. If people call him lying, he's not lying. He believes himself. I would like to say that's worse. It's worse to have somebody in illusion than somebody that's a straight out liar. Because somebody that's an illusion can't tell the difference between truth and not truth. And when bad news comes his way, he just pushes it away and goes, nope.
Well, you combine that with somebody who admittedly does not read. He does not read. He does not research. He doesn't.
He just wants his own truth.
Things. He, has people just tell him things. And this is really, really scary because it came out that one of his cabinet members who is on a part of this coronavirus task force, Navarro, had written a significant, call it a memorandum. I think
that's right. The memorandum. Sure. Mm-hmm.
In early January, warning the president this could have a $3.2 trillion impact on our economy, and that, more than 100,000 people were going to die. And of course, the president says, well, we didn't know anything about it. And we didn't know it was this bad until like a week ago. He had it there and just did not do anything with it.
Well, see, that's the problem when you do your own illusion. When you do your own illusion, is what you're doing is you're going to minimize bad news. So he might have said, it's like, oh, well, this is not going to be anything. I can talk my way out of this. The fact is that if you believe that there's only going to be 5, and to this day, that somebody even asked him, you said you're going to be 5 and they were going to be gone. He says they are going away. The things are reducing. It's like, no, they're not. And, you said this thing about winning. I didn't know that we were going to be winning with the pandemic.
Right.
And soon to be winning as the number one nation with the number one deaths, which is actually the one to actually look at,
I think
because
we already own that distinction, don't we?
yeah, I think we got the number one.
I think we're
Of
over
course, we got our
14,000
population.
now.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think we're number one now. We are totally number one. Let's see how number one we
In
are. Yeah, I think we're
infections and in deaths, I think.
in infections and in death. Yes. No. Italy is still a little bit ahead of us, but we'll cross deaths. Italy is at 18,000 deaths.
Oh, okay.
And we are at 16,000 deaths. We'll have them by either today or tomorrow, the next day.
Right.
By the end of the week, will be more deaths. And obviously, total number of tests, that's great, but it's proportional. See, the thing is, it's always proportional. The proportional is that a week ago there were 17 deaths per million in the US, and now there are 49 deaths per million. Italy and Spain, Italy is 302 deaths per million. So the proportion is what to look at. As soon as he says nobody tests the way we do, the answer is yes, and we have the second number of deaths in the world. Well, it's like you've got to be ready for the spin and the marketing and the selling Trump to speak, and not to allow his perception and his perspective of optimism to be allowed to last at the truth level that it does, which is only a partial truth at best.
Mm.
So that's that's one of the challenges that media, regrettably, and the reporters don't have the dexterity to do, because they're stuck in, that's factual, but it's not perspective. It's not it's not the perspective. We are going to be number one in deaths. We probably will be number one in deaths per million by the time this thing's over. But it's, whether or not we get to 300 or 400 deaths per million, it's hard to say, because that would that would really be good. Anyways, okay, so really, really important, Tom. Really important is scapegoating is, and one of the things that scapegoating does is it gives the media and Trump the red herring that they then are going to start to pursue. And as they pursue that red herring, what winds up happening is that they get caught in, he shouldn't speak that way. That's not the truth. Instead of, I would recommend it would say, the president is holding the perspective that this, and that perspective, if we start measuring apples to apples, that perspective is really in alignment with this truth. Then what happens is they're setting their narrative next to his narrative. And I think we mentioned this on part one of scapegoating is that you don't have to make something 100% new to be a millionaire. You just need to be 10% new. And the reason why it needs to be 10% new is because the human being has got to believe that that this thing works. And once they believe it works, then they can buy product 2, product 3, product 4, because it's right next to the thing that they're already buying for or paying for or whatever. So anyway, that makes some sense? Or
that does make sense. We see, how he's, on the podium, and as you mentioned, scapegoating the World Health Organization, claiming they didn't share information soon enough, didn't warn us, all this sort of thing, which we know is not true. The journalists in the White House press corps try to call him out on it and say, no, it is true. Or, they talk about the memo that Navarro wrote. It's like, well, you had that in January. No, I didn't. He just battles it.
So
they don't have the skill. And we talked about how maybe they're not going to have enough skill, and maybe the different media organizations, it's not helpful.
They're not going to have the skill.
Not helpful for their people to even try, but the main anchors can then take that.
Yeah, the anchors. I think the anchors have got to do a better job of taking what's being reported and not trying to create, as one anchor said the other day, oh my gosh, please let the let the daily briefings keep coming. He's saying more and more things that you can make great videos out of. Joe Biden can make great videos out of these things, because they're all not very, they're just the next damning thing that this character is saying. And and we don't know if he's going to be a one-term president yet. And the reason why we don't know that is because of the extensive financial support he's getting from the 1% and the extensive political support he's getting from the Republicans, because they don't want to cross him. They don't want to say, well, I never agreed with the president. We'll hear that after he's not elected, but none of them are sticking their heads up above the foxhole. And just to put a little bit of more ugliness in this, is that Mitch McConnell has not stopped appointing judges. The president has not stopped rolling back environmental pieces. Behind the scenes, they're still disabling, destroying the protective elements for the people, the things that people have put into place. And then the judges are then going to keep those current laws in place, because those are the ones that the court will come up against. Well, this was signed into order. This is the thing. I'm sorry. Yes, your farm, you lost 100 cows because of the fracking that took place. It's like, or 1,000 cows or whatever. See what I mean? It's like behind the scenes, because the truth and the distractions are taking place. What's not taking place is getting him to compassionately walk the plank, compassionately get out there, and by saying, so let me see if we got this, Mr. President. You would like to hear that the World Health Organization should have known earlier and should have let you know earlier. Is that correct? He has to say yes, because that's what he just said a second ago. And you would like them, here, watch this weird sentence. You would like them to take accountability because they could have let you know sooner because they got it wrong. Is that what you'd like us to hear? Yes. Instead of, you're not paying attention and you were ignoring it.
Well, the interesting thing is if some of the journalists, do this with intention, and are not caught off guard when they're going, and they should be going in with questions they intend to ask, right? But if their producers and them are coordinated enough, they could be asking those questions. Mr. President, you would like us to hear that the World Health Organization did not warn us until this date, or did not warn us until it was too late, or something. And he would say yes. Meanwhile, they can be putting up on the screen over the president's, right shoulder or left shoulder, World Health Organization informed the world of this on X date. I mean, there are other ways to, have the president walk on that plank, show him compassion and empathy, and show to the world that he's not being truthful, without getting the president into that place of contempt in that briefing. Right. Which is going to just devolve the whole thing, right?
That's right. And it all of a sudden it just gives it. The reporter, even though the reporter asks a question that has a benign energy to it, what do you say to the Americans that are scared?
Oh, and
it's like, why are you being? That's fake news. Why are you doing that? See, he has believed inside himself and he keeps promoting inside himself, this will go away really soon. It's like the bad parent. Gosh, if I even want to take a tragic example that just came to my head, it's like the mother or the father, to be general neutral here, they are terrible parents. They beat their kids this way, they neglect their kids away, and the parent will actually say, I'm the best parent. I am a great parent to my kids. I'm teaching my kids discipline. I'm toughening my kid up. And you're going like, you're kind of abusing your kid here. And
right.
But the parent's point of view is that, well, it's a lot better than what my dad did to me. From their perspective, they are a good parent. From societal's perspective, why you hit your kid like that?
Right.
Well, let's see. Yeah. But I mean, I got several examples like this. But it's
and
those exasperating.
Those are fair examples. I mean, as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to the family a year or two ago that got, arrested and had their 8 or 9 kids removed from the house because these kids were literally chained to their beds in their bedrooms and were not allowed to have any kind of a life outside of the home. I mean, and they believed they were wonderful parents, right? I agree. I think their perspective may be that way. But
wait, pause. That's exactly the way I would request the news media to start thinking about Trump. Don't think and get off the lying narrative. Get on to, here's a person that is in the space of wishful thinking. He's being a cheerleader. He's reinforcing to the people that believe the same way that he does. And we need somebody else that could give us more honesty moving forward.
Okay, now that is fantastic, Bill, and brilliant. So, I mean, if you're Chris Cuomo or Don Lemon or Jake Tapper or you're, Rachel Maddow or you're, who are the other guys? Brian Williams, and
they got to go a different direction.
Map. And I guess some of the people at ABC or CBS, I don't know them well, but
sure,
if they. This is really pretty brilliant. I think a combination of what you're saying and what I was suggesting a minute ago, if they can school their journalists that are on the front lines here in those press briefings,
yes,
to ask the empathetic, compassionate question that is going to make the president feel heard, feel like you're acknowledging him, feel like you are amplifying his self-worth.
That's right.
You can do that, get him to like you and answer the question or agree with you, I guess is really what it is. Agree with you in the moment, but then have your producers back in the studio either putting up the graphics that are him contradicting that or the real fact, and having him speak, lying to you about it right there.
Yeah.
Now the president may, what's to me amusing about this and sort of poetic justice is that the president later, his staff may say, oh my gosh, when he was asking you that question, you should have seen what CNN put up on the screen. It was not flattering to you. And he will actually not be able to acknowledge it because they liked me already. He can't even see it on the screen because his beliefs, it's the same as the parent that is locking their kid to the bed. They're saying to themselves, I am protecting my kid from the outside world, which is dangerous. Well, and I think he might actually think, well, somebody back at CNN did that, but this guy liked me in the room. He was nice to me. Right?
That's correct.
And so what's going to happen is the president will continue being a moth to the flame in those press briefing moments. Even if he heard, what they said on the screen was not the same as what he was telling me in the room, but he won't think about that in the moment. You ask him the empathetic, compassionate question and get him to say yes, he's
Yeah.
going to love that moment, eat it up, and continue to engage with you and not move on to the next guy and say you're a terrible reporter.
Right. Exactly. A terrible reporter to him is one that does not feed into his sales, marketing, branding messages. That's a terrible reporter.
So
If
go
you can't
with it,
support,
guys.
go with it,
With
guys.
it.
Go with it.
Seriously.
And go with it. And be ready to plant the seeds of empathy, which is you would like acknowledgement. That's a seed. You would like acknowledgement that you locked down China when you did, and you're glad that you did it. Yes. So do you feel like that lockdown was sufficient? And we'd like to give you acknowledgement that lockdown was more. Oh, yes. Well, in hindsight, now all of a sudden he's walking into the trap that he doesn't know that he's even there, because he's following his sales and branding messaging. He would like acknowledgement that he made some decisions. So you like some acknowledgement that you stopped the travel from Europe. Yes. You'd like some recognition that was done in a timely way. Oh, yes. Timely is a month and a half late, but that's not what's important. He's seeing and playing into his own illusion. He's not lying. He's never lying. I know it's a weird thing to say, but somebody listen, is your kid lying when they take an ice cream out of the freezer if you don't know that they've taken it out? No, they got the damn ice cream out. It's like they haven't said. Now you ask them, where'd the ice cream go? I don't know. Why don't they know? It's in their stomach already. They don't know where it went. Where is it now? I don't know where it is now. I don't know where the ice cream is. I don't know where the ice cream is.
I don't know where it went. It went somewhere down the toilet,
somewhere
down the street, but I don't know where it is now.
Right. So stop with the lying narrative. I mean, that's what gives once you call somebody a liar about something, they got to find a scapegoat next to protect their own self-worth, their own respect, their own narrative. And they're going to look for opportunities to hang it on somebody else. And it's exasperating. Like, both of our voices are exasperated because on two fronts. One, Trump's messaging is causing us to be exasperated because our need for truth isn't met. And exasperated because our need for skill and mastery is not being met by the people that are asking the questions of him.
Right. That's the thing that kills me is I keep seeing these reporters go down this tragic path and use the wrong words and approach it the wrong way. It's always about fact checking,
right?
Which then the president and I think people that are on Team Trump,
yes,
always frame as gotcha questions, right?
Right.
And that. And the thing is, it's not helpful. This is this is what's counterintuitive, Bill. And it's like when you taught me in my sales process, which of course, if you're any new listeners here, this is how, Bill, I engaged Bill years ago to train me to be a better salesperson. And you told me, well, Tom, there is this point in the process, and this can be an arc of what happens in a single sales phone call, or it could be over time, multiple calls, but mostly within one phone call, you've got to inject doubt at some point. You have, well, I'm not so sure that we can deliver that, but let me hear some more, and you get them to talk and open up. And that, it's counterintuitive, but that works. And the reason I mention that is it's counterintuitive to the news media, to the journalists out there, to the anchors, that they should not just directly call the president out on the facts and directly call out that he is lying. But guess what? You can achieve much more and get to the truth in a more effective way letting the president hang himself out to dry, so to speak, or walk that plank,
Right.
than you can by charging directly into, Mr. President, you said this, isn't that true? Oh, no, I never said that.
I mean, literally today with the World Health Organization, I am not going to fund them. I have looked for ways to constrict their funding. In other words, he said, I'm pulling it back. Next question, which is, I can't believe the person just even walked into the question, but they said it. So do you think it's a good idea to
cut the WHO's
cut the
funding,
funding
right?
during a pandemic? Well, I'm not sure if I'm going to do it. We're just going to look at ways. Well, didn't you just say you were definitively going to do it?
No, I didn't.
No, I didn't.
Right.
See, all of a sudden, it looks like a gotcha question. They keep thinking that this is a person that's going to take accountability and is going to be factually accurate and is actually going to have integrity, which is the need that he doesn't have. Integrity, his words match his feet. Trump's words do not match his feet. His words match a vision that triggers the belief that something is going to get done. So, I mean, they're building the wall right now more so they can have more miles of the wall done so he can, in a couple of months, I mean, they've accelerated the wall building. They've accelerated. And here's how they've done it. They've offered money to unemployed people to carpool from different cities to drive down together. It's a pandemic problem all of a sudden.
Can you be 6 feet apart from anybody in a vehicle?
I don't think that's it.
I'm not feeling that meets my need for safety.
All these people are out of work. They need money, right? So, well, here's money. I could give you money for a wall. I'll take any money I can. Oh, I might get exposed. I might not get exposed. I'm driving down to do a wall. So it's exasperating. I mean, it's just the short part of the equation, Tom. It's exasperating because it is by inserting doubt, which he constantly does. I don't know if we can do that. I'm not sure if it's going to do that. Yes, we can. I told you we could. No, I can't. Sorry, I can't. It's like, is this steak good or is it not steak good? He is not able to sell a steak, but he is able to sell the sizzle. Trump sells sizzle. It's all sizzle. It's not steak. I got to say it, and I feel so unsettling about this. Just like professional wrestling, it's the sizzle that makes the difference. It's the personalities that get in the ring together. It is not the stake of the contest. Who's going to win has been predetermined. They practice those moves so people mostly don't get hurt. They do get hurt. Yeah, landing on a table gets hurt. They get hurt, and some people die over it. They do, but they are selling the sizzle. He is a sizzle seller. It's not truth. Stop it, you guys. Media, back off. Go with the sizzle and expose the illusion. Don't prove the illusion. Who wants to prove it?
Oh, that's really profound there, Bill. That's really
expose the illusion.
That's what they need to learn.
It.
Don't prove it.
Expose it.
No, you got to expose it. That is brilliant and so.
Another metaphor. Thank you, Tom. Another metaphor that goes with that too is a balloon. You fill a balloon up with air, and the balloon gets bigger. Don't try to pop the balloon, because they have another balloon ready to go that's already inflated, ready to go. And they're just, see, I told you that was fake media. I thought it was fake news. They have the balloon already filled. The best way is to use empathy to let all the air out of the balloon so the person can't talk anymore. And I know it's so... there's a counterintuitive part of it, but you actually want the president to start saying yes to his illusion so he has nowhere to go. Yes to the illusion cheerleading that he is communicating to us.
And then I think also if the news media, who are often in the president's crosshairs, which is pretty much everybody but Fox News and some of the conservative newspapers and blogs, right? If they actually played a team sport and coordinated some of their questioning and planned some of this out, so that whenever the president, for whatever reason, is unhappy with one of them, then they moves on to the next one. They continue to, again, get him to agree and expose himself. That would be very helpful too.
It would be
brilliant. This is, oh my gosh, these
Yeah,
people need to go back to school big time.
It's really
School
tough.
of Bill Stierle.
And also too, Tom, just to expand upon this, because this is a wonderful conversation. It's also to really to get a hold of, and we'll go into this next time, is for them to get a hold of. We're just trying to run a play that is going to last under a minute. Like, you hand the ball off, it's getting tackled. You throw the pass, it's incomplete. Everybody regroups, they get the next play. So I would request that Joe Biden for him not to do any long interviews. No long interviews with Joe Biden. None. Joe Biden is to do short interviews that he can make 2 or 3 points and get out. That's it.
No unforced errors, right?
Yes, no unforced errors. A long interview, all it does is gets Joe into explaining and also backtracking into history. And you and I both know how explaining doesn't work in the sales process.
Nope.
Explaining how something works will guarantee eventually the person will buy it because they understand it, but they won't do it. They know it, but they won't implement it. And that's the big reason why Hillary got beat, but that's a whole nother discussion.
Well, honestly, the best thing Joe can do is just really continue letting Trump fumble, at what he's doing right now, and continue to be a cheerleader and have things not happen the way he, cheers them to be, and set himself up. It's really kind of ironic because the way the Republicans had set themselves up in the 90s as, restoring family values and integrity and all these sort of things, really, Joe Biden just needs to stay in that space right there and be the counter narrative to the current occupant of the White House. And
that's right.
Don't get caught up in, how are you going to make healthcare work? Just set the vision that we are going to make sure that all Americans are taken care of, and stay in that world and forget explanation, forget the plans that Elizabeth Warren pulled out. The plan didn't help her, right?
It didn't help her. It flattened her out. It flattened her energy. So, she could take a run, in 8 years, if she wants to. But her narrative has got to really pivot and got to get strengthened and more savvy. And she's fiery and she's got some good chops and she's smart as heck. But as far as marketing and sales, none of them know how to market and sell. But the seller, and it's no surprise that a capitalist society wouldn't put a former actor, Ronald Reagan, and a former, a brand or marketer in charge from one part of it, because kind of selling security and safety and infrastructure is a hard sell for Americans because they just want to have it. They don't want to think about it or pay for it. And it's like, well, if you don't pay for it, and but you got to sell the darn thing. You got to make it. You got to sell it.
That you do.
Anyway,
that you do. All right. Well, I'm interested in the future to get a little more into Joe Biden and
yes,
how he moves forward, and about
that's right.
what's happened with Bernie, and so we're going to have that coming up soon too, and maybe take a little bit of a break from the exhaustive daily coronavirus daily briefings, right?
Agreed. All right, Tom, it's been wonderful. Thanks a million. Thanks everybody for listening.
Thank you for listening to this Purchasing Truth podcast. We trust that you have enjoyed this engaging and thought-provoking conversation. Our hope is that you've received value, found clarity, and broadened your truth perspective in this episode. If you did, leave us a review or visit our website, purchasingtruth.com. Join us again for another informative and content-rich discussion here at the Purchasing Truth podcast. Don't just accept whatever information comes your way. Join the discussion. Discover your own voice. Purchase your own truth.